around, except there's one last thing to sew, which is we're going to fold over and a 1/2 inch sew this so that we have a clean, and on this side, clear edge for putting the buttons, the buttonholes in. So let's do that. So that will require a little more pinning. And while I'm at it, why don't I take out all the pins all the way around so that I don't poke myself when I go to sleep or somebody else in the bed. This is a lot of extra fabric to be stuck in the corners, so I think because I have a serger I will do this, is I'm going to go across this with a serger and get rid of a bunch of the fabric. So when we turn it right side out, the corners aren't, bunched up with fabric. Okay, so here we are at the foot end of the duvet, and we've got the opening. And because I did because we want to make sure that there's a thicker piece of fabric that's finished, we wanted to fold it over the seam allowance amount, and then we're going to come by and sew this in place. So right now I'm just pinning it and measuring about a 1/2 inch. And that's what we're doing. So, as I mentioned before, we are trimming the corners because when you put this right side out, you want to make sure you don't have a ton of fabric. It's already pretty thick because you've got this hemmed side here, this hem side here, we've added the ties here. There's just a lot of fabric going on in the corner, so whenever you can, it's good if you have a serger just to like trim it out. So that's what I'm doing on both sides. And then cutting the waist. Yeah, that looks good. We'll do them at the bottom corners too, which are here. Now I just eyeball the length of this opening, and I've got 5 buttons to put in. These buttons are 3/4 inch buttons, which means that I need to do 3/4 inch buttonholes. First I'm going to measure the total length of the opening, and I can do this with a ruler or I can do it with a 36, looks like 37.5. Alright, so I'm going to do, okay. Now there are 5 buttons, but there will be, let's do it representatively. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 spaces essentially. So we want to approximate 6 spaces in 37.5. Now it looks about to be, 6 times 6 equals 36, right? Look at me doing math. And then we've got an extra 1.5 inches to spread out over these 6 items. So that would be 1/4 inch. So we got 6 1/4 for each of these areas. 125 times 6. Let's check our work. 30, 50, 37.5. Great. Our work is checked. 6 1/4, 6 1/4. So that would be 6 1/4 to the center of each buttonhole. I'm just making little marks, and then I will go back and I will actually draw out the whole buttonhole with these marks as the center. This is great for quilting, but it's also great for 1,000 other crafting things, so you can see the fabric underneath where you're going to mark it, and it just makes it so much better. So you can line up the edge so you're going straight across instead of skewed at an angle. And I'm going to do that. All right, because I haven't done buttonholes in a little while, I'm taking a bit of the scrap fabric. Remember how the two different top sheets were different sizes, and so we cut some off. So I've made markings for a 3/4 inch buttonhole on this. It's approximately the same, thickness as the one we're going to use. And I'm going to remind myself how to do a buttonhole. Because I'm very much in a need to know kind of mode with my sewing machine. When I need to know how to do something, that's when I relearn how to do it. This is the buttonhole foot. So we have to take off this foot, and we need to adjust this for the right size buttonhole. So I want to make sure that this area right here, between here is the length of the buttonhole. So that will be made by this foot. So, okay, that's about right. And the next thing I need to do is put this foot on. And there's like a little bar that is where it attaches. Okay, and I just slide the fabric down, the thread down. The last thing I need to do is pull this down. This is for buttonholes. It's just for this machine, that's how it goes. And this is the guide. So this is an electronic machine. You can just program in a buttonhole and it'll just do it. It's crazy. You just press the foot and it goes. Now I have to program what kind of buttonhole. I have choices. I'm gonna go, as I usually do, with super basic, which is 35. So I have to program 35. And but you see there's like these keyhole ones which are used like in making suits, jacket buttonholes tend to have those. Buttonholes on shirts tend to be more basic, like a 35, 36, 37. I don't know when I've seen a 34. And 38 just doesn't look very sturdy. So I think it's just a sewn line that you then cut out. So good, that's what we're gonna do, is 35. So what I need to do is, if you look down in here, you see there's a red crosshatch. There's a red mark here and a red mark on either side. Just ignore the green ones for now. So what I'm looking for is the top of the buttonhole. It's kind of hard to see with the thread in the way. Okay. Okay. So here, I'm trying to line it up in the crosshairs. I don't know if you can see that. But the little pencil mark I made on the fabric, which is the start of the buttonhole, is lined up with the little red mark. So that's just how this machine works. So let's go ahead and see if it works. Yikes. So basically you just have to keep pressing the foot until it goes through the whole cycle. All right, I screwed up. This is why I need to practice. This goes on this side of the buttonhole maker. So we'll do this again. Yes, we will. All right, so it's a really good thing that we did this test run, because I've marked here where I had wanted it to make the button just up to this length, but it made it even longer. It made it like, I don't know, a 1/16 or an 1/8 of an inch, longer than it should have been. So that means I need to adjust this button maker. There's a little release for it. So this is too long. So this is what I thought was doing it, but I'm gonna make it this size, and that will eventually give us the right length. Okay. So we just made one. As you see, I do nothing. I just press the footer and the machine does all of the work, which is really delightful. We're gonna have to open up the buttonholes, but that's another step, which I will show you after this is done. So in the interest of efficiency, I just did all of the buttonholes, and now I'm going back and trimming out the thread, the excess thread for the buttonholes all at once. Where did I put my hammer? It's stuck down here or something. I need my hammer because I'm going to chisel open the buttonholes. But you know what? I could just whack it with something hard. What do I have? It's hard. So I'm placing the chisel inside to cut through the fabric. And all I need to do is cut through it enough so I can get some little itty bitty scissors in. Another way is I'll show you another method of opening buttonholes without the chisel. Okay, so this one I've opened it with a chisel, and I'm just gonna cut it open. But be careful not to cut through any of the actual sewn parts. I want to cut these off, these strings. These are the annoying strings when you have buttonholes that one should always trim off, but doesn't always happen in commercially made stuff. Here's the button. Yay, it worked! All right, so the other method of opening up a buttonhole is to go like this, to fold it in half. It's a little more sketchy because you have to make sure that when you cut through, cutting through just inside the buttonhole. I think I did. It's also harder when it's this thick fabric, so it's like multiple layers right here. So let me try that again. And I'm gonna go back to the chiseling. It can be done. It's just this is so much faster and better and butcher.